So I get this question a lot, and it's, how do I connect with my soul? How do I connect to my soul? And it's really interesting, and I get that question because one of the ways that I teach people in order to transform all aspects of their lives is to go within and to communicate with your higher self, with your God self, with the quantum field. And there's no quicker way to transform and transcend any and all things in your life. Bar none, bar none. The thing about it is, though, that it's not that hard to do. You see, a lot of people think that your soul or your higher self is actually separate to you. And that's not true. It's a part of you. It is you. So by default, you're always in constant communication with Source, with God, your higher self, your I am presence, whatever you want to call it. There is no separation. There never has been, there never will be. The difference is that the way in which you perceive your reality is from a limited perspective. You experience it from feeling like you're actually this body, and this body is what's having the experience. But that's not true. It's not true at all. This body is nothing more than an avatar in a computer game. Think of it that way. When you go play a computer game and you build your little character and then you go into that world and you're playing and doing all these things, well, that character, that avatar, might be what's actually having all the experiences in that world, but there's someone else that's driving it. Someone far greater than that little character that's running around in that game. It's actually no different than what is happening right now to you in the moment. Now, the interesting thing is that therefore you're in constant communication with your soul. You're in constant communication with your higher self all the time. The difference is, though, that when it comes to spirit, when it comes to the higher realms, there is no good or bad. Everything is all one. So even though down here in the physical plane, you're having these experiences that feel good, bad, or awful, or wonderful, amazing, and hurtful, and yucky, and great, and all of this, your higher self is not having that experience. It's basically just having an experience through you. And it's detached from that. Again, if you think about the analogy of you being a character in a computer game, you have multiple lives. If you don't like the game, you can just turn it off and turn it on again and start again. You can do all sorts of stuff that is actually very much the same as how it is from that perspective, from that higher perspective. And it's not cruel, it's not mean, it's not punishment or whatever else. It's just that we embody on this planet for a certain experience, for a certain reason, which is quite literally just to have an experience. That's quite literally all it is. The goal, the ideal goal, is that within that experience, you become self-aware enough that you can now function with all these superpowers in that reality, and that you're able to start manipulating that reality and living a crazy, amazing, wonderful life that's very much on your terms. But when I say your terms, I say that loosely, very much on God's terms. Now, a lot of people react to the word God and all of that, but it's just the love, right? The quantum field. Whatever you want to call God, it's the oneness, it's the consciousness that envelops and embraces all aspects of creation, okay? Science has proven this. Look it up, do your research. We all know that everything's made up of energy at the subatomic level. Call that energy God, and there you go, there's the proof, right? Now, God has been mislabeled as this entity or this being that has thoughts and things like that, and it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. You can't project this minuscule little human understanding of reality that we have in this third dimensional realm and think that that's how it is being God, okay? Which is what people do, right? We project that onto animals too, and onto all different aspects of reality. We think that they think the way that we do, or perceive reality the way that we do, and it's just not true. God, in and of itself, doesn't even actually exist in the highest plane of creation. It's just a label. It's just a label of oneness. And as you raise your vibration, you start experiencing more of you, more of that oneness. You start tapping into higher frequencies and higher realms of energy, and that you can now start utilizing in this world, right? And that's the reason why we have psychic abilities and healing abilities, and you're able to read people's minds, or be able to know when someone's calling, or think about someone that you haven't seen or heard from in years, and then all of a sudden they pop up in your social media, or they reach out to you, or there's all these synchronicities and things that happen, and they're not really, I mean, they're synchronicities, but they're not really happen chance, and it's not an accident. It's because everything's all one, and we're always communicating with all of creation at the same time, quite literally, and being communicated to. It's just that we can't perceive that. We don't perceive that as part of our reality. Now, if everything I just said went over your head, I get it, and I understand why, and that's okay, right? It's ultimately not important. But what is important is that you have the ultimate power in your reality. And the only thing in the way of that is fear and anything that is not of love, which is all the conditioning, the programming, and limitations that you've taken on that make you believe otherwise. That's it. That's all. That's the mystery of the universe. That's it. That's the mystery of the universe. So when you understand truly that it's literal, that you're connected with everything, then communication with your soul, your higher self, with you, ultimately with God, it's always there. Now, there are certain rules to this experience, because if there weren't rules to this experience, just like there's a rules to the computer games, then there wouldn't be any point to playing them, right? It wouldn't be fun, right? If your character had an infinite amount of lives and could just do whatever it wants, you just get bored and end the game and walk away, right? There'd be no point in playing the game. The point of playing the game is being able to beat the different levels and complete missions and tasks and accomplishments and quests and all of that sort of stuff, right? It's the same for us. The soul wants you to complete different missions and different conquests and different things that are a part of your character and are a part of your personality, that are a part of what you bring to the table in this world. For the love of it, literally, because it's an experience. In order to experience who you truly are as being one with all of creation, you need to be separate from it so that you can then have that yin and that yang, and to have that dichotomy and to have the opposite, polar opposites there to show you and give you perspective. And then based on that is how you decide what's of value for you, how you want to live that life, what has meaning, what doesn't have meaning. And, unfortunately, because of all the conditioning and the programming, a lot of people make a lot of poor and bad choices for themselves. And they never complete the mission or the quest, which might be, in this case, in this particular computer game, is to break out of the matrix, so to speak, to free yourself from that world, which is actually pretty much the truth. So until then, you keep coming back as different characters and have different chances, and the world is constantly changing and evolving as it levels up, and eventually you break free. And that's what is the whole point of life here, is to be able to quite literally live as God, as unconditional love in this paradise. And it's paradise because you can create whatever you want. You choose what you experience. Once you let go of all the conditioning and the programming and all the things that make you believe that that's not possible and that cause you to live in a state of victim consciousness and disempowerment. Now, one could blame the dark forces and the greedy people or the selfish people or the unconscious people or whatever it is that you want to blame, your parents, your family, your abusers, your tormentors, and all of that sort of stuff. But you've just got to understand that from a higher perspective, those particular circumstances and situations were necessary for your experience. Okay? And I won't get into anything more about that than that. I know that that can be very triggering for some people, especially when you've gone through hell. But if you realize that the worst things that have ever happened to you could actually be your superpower, that you could not only heal and transcend and overcome, but then that allows you to not only rise up and become fully empowered, right? because that became a driving force and a motivator, that hurt and that pain. But not only that, you are now able to help others that are going through the same things. What a gift. What a blessing. OMG. OMG. And we see it all the time. There are tons of people that have overcome adversity to become very ultra successful, or that have become an inspiration to millions of people around the world. Happens all the time. You could be that if you choose it. So, your communication to self, to your God self, to your superconscious self, is technically already there. The only difference is that we're not proactively engaging with it. We don't see it as even existing in most cases. So a lot of the self-talk is either automatic programs that are running, or when we talk to ourselves, we're talking to ourselves as this body, as this smaller aspect of self. And as I said, there are rules to this reality. And one of those fundamental rules is free will. So what that means is that every single human being that embodies on this planet, the fundamental rule is that they have free will to do whatever they like. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't repercussions for it, right? Because that's just the way the universe works, right? There's repercussions for everything. Every which way that you choose to use your energy, your body, your free will, your consciousness has a reaction in the universe, and usually an equal reaction back at you. So everything that you send out and every action you take and everything you do in the world will bring back to you the same things, or things of similar vibration, into your energy field. So if you send out love, then you will receive more love. If you send out non-love, then you will receive more lower vibrational, non-loving things back into your reality. Now, a lot of people will say, but it doesn't always work, and blah, 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 blah. Is there all these exceptions, and et cetera, and et cetera? And yeah, there are exceptions because of the conditioning, the programming, and the balancing that needs to happen sometimes. Sometimes it's not about what happens to us that is what the lesson is, rather how you react to it. Meaning that because you're in this physical body, let's just say I've attained illumination, right? Let's just say I'm enlightened and I've attained full self-mastery, and I live and walk in total unconditional love on this planet. Let's just assume that, okay? I'm still on this planet, right? If there's a storm outside and it starts raining, there's still going to be rain that's going to fall on my head, even if I don't happen to like rain that much, right? I prefer sunlight, okay? If there's a war that breaks out, then chances are that it's going to impact me in one way, shape, or form. It could even hurt and harm me. Now, chances are, if I am in that consciousness, I will be protected and there'll be a bubble around me, and I will only experience that which I need to, okay, based on what it is that I'm supposed to achieve and accomplish, and whatever the rules are, and whatever my soul needs me to have and experience in the game. Please understand that. But the truth is, the more love that you put out there, the more love that you're going to receive. Unconditional love. Same with if you put out lower vibrational, fear, non-loving things, the more you're going to receive that. Besides the fact that you can't ever truly be happy if you're putting out non-love, because you have to lower your vibration in order to do so. And lowering your vibration causes pain and suffering. Period. The end. It's fear-based. It's not of love. So, communicating with your higher self, you need to acknowledge that there's a greater aspect to you. You need to acknowledge that there's more to this reality in the first place, because if you're talking to just your small self, then that's as far as your communication is really going to go, right? Because you don't believe it. You're not actually talking to your soul. You're not actually talking to God. You're not actually talking to this greater aspect of yourself. But free will is where there's a disconnect. Besides all the programs and the limitations and all the things that are in our way, there is only so much that the universe can do in order to intervene on your behalf. And if you think about it, when it comes to the universe intervening on your behalf, where is your desire for it to intervene coming from? Because a lot of times people want things to go away. They want to get something that's usually material, but it still comes from a victim consciousness. Because everything that happens in this reality happens for a reason. So if that is true, and you learn and discover the gift of why certain things happen in your life, then you're able to overcome them. You're able to transcend them. And then you're able to receive the true blessing of why those circumstances and situations actually happened in your life. And then you won't need to necessarily recreate them ever again. Especially if you've fully healed and fully gotten the lesson of it and transcended it. And it's actually created the shift that was necessary in your consciousness to no longer allow yourself to create those circumstances and situations in your life ever again. A lot of times, the prayers and the communication that we do have with the higher realms, if you actually think that the higher realms intervened on your behalf or your prayers were answered and things like that, in some cases they may have been. In some cases they may have or would have been otherwise. And in some cases they are placebo. But the transformation, regardless, if something did happen, there was a transformation or something that changed in you that allowed that change or manifestation or intervention to take place in your reality. You were the source of that. Now, I'm sort of getting into some really high level stuff. I don't even know if you've turned this off by now or have lost track of what I'm saying, but the bottom line is, you can communicate with your higher self. You can solicit and ask for your higher self to intervene on your behalf if you're asking for the right things, and if you are proactively learning the lessons of why you create certain circumstances and situations in your life, and your focus isn't on the material gain, okay? Like, I want the car, the fancy house, the vacation, and all that. Those things happen as a result of who you truly are and who you were born to be. And those things can happen without you needing to waste your higher self's time on something like that. Now, I say that jokingly because it doesn't work that way. But the point is that they don't listen to that. They don't hear that. Your higher self doesn't even understand that. Because if you actually think about all the things that you want in the material physical world, it's not the material physical stuff that you actually want. What you want is what those things give you, which is a feeling, a sensation. A lot of the times, you know, when people are called egotistical or vain or whatever else, and, you know, people criticize these younger guys that buy the sports cars and the fancy this and the fancy that, what do they really want? Why are they buying all of that? Is it because they really just love that car? No. It's usually because they want people to look at them. They want the attention. It's stroking their ego, and it's making them feel better inside of themselves. Because a truly masterful individual wouldn't care less whether they have the fancy car or they have a 1969 beat up Volkswagen, and that's what they were driving around. Their experience on the inside would be exactly the same. And if you're at that level, you don't actually care what type of car you have. You might have the Lambo, right? But you don't actually care, and you would never utilize the power that you have inside to communicate with the divine, your higher self, for something as unimportant as that. When there's an infinite amount of love and mastery to be had, and there's an infinite amount of things that you can accomplish and do in this world that are of value. And so if your focus is on constantly removing all the non-love, all the limitations, all the things that are preventing you from doing all of that and being all of that, your higher self, your God self, will help you in whatever way it possibly can, even if it's just to give you guidance, even if it is just to help to draw to you more and more things in order for you to be able to accomplish that in a quicker, faster, easier manner. I hope that really, really makes sense. I hope that this video has enlightened you to understanding how the game of life works. And I have never really spoken it in this particular way. So I'm hoping that this makes sense. And if any of this was above your comprehension and, just like, what the heck is this guy on? Okay, then that's okay. Join my free Facebook group, get into some of my free courses and programs. If you want to get coaching from me, if you want to transcend your whole entire reality and connect with your higher self in a productive way that actually yields real results in your life, that impacts every aspect of your existence and accelerates it and helps you become truly who you are, and that fosters that unconditional love and empowers you. This is the most important. Empowers you to do this without the need to have me and others in your life ultimately to drive the wheel. Then click the link below. Do it now and become part of my tribe, my family of like-minded people, and let me give you everything that I can. And let's take this journey on helping to truly not only transform every single human being, ultimately yourself from the inside out, but to also impact this world in a positive way by spreading true unconditional love and the highest levels of understanding and teachings and knowledge and wisdom that has come from sources that are all over the place, right? That's within us and that has been handed down for millennia. Why not find true happiness inside of you so that you don't ever need to look outside of self for that happiness ever again? Why not realize the unlimited potential that is inside of you so that no matter what anybody says or does or anything that happens out in the world will ever impact you and pull you down in a negative way again? Now, a lot of people and a lot of teachers will say that's not even possible. That's all just airy-fairy, woo-woo, mumbo-jumbo stuff, and that's the lie. It is possible. It just takes effort. It takes consistency. It takes working with your superconscious self. Because I'll tell you what, that little baby that once was you, and if you're a mother or a parent, or if you've ever been around a little child, that little child is just pure love. Pure love. That's who you are. All the programs, that little baby, right, when it's being held by the mother, at a couple of months old or whatever else, it's not thinking to itself, I'm not good enough. This world sucks. Everyone hates me. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve that. Why doesn't this work for me? I wish this would work for me. I deserve more. Blah, 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 blah. It's all the programming. All the programming. And if you're not living your dream life, then there are things that are preventing that from happening. That's all. That's all. So why wouldn't you want to do it in the fastest way, right? Why wouldn't you want to heal that, transcend that, overcome that in the fastest way possible? I don't know. For me, it's a no-brainer. So click on the links below, get involved, join me, help me, support me, love me, hate me, whatever. I really, honestly don't care, but I am here either way. Thank you.